It's interesting. As a investment banker as opposed to an investor, I have perhaps a little bit of a different lens, but I think the way that I'm seeing the landscape is quite similar to the other panelists. And by that I mean, we obviously have a fantastic opportunity in front of us. It feels quite like an early opportunity still. I would liken it to where we were in cybersecurity maybe even a decade ago. And by that I mean, I think we've reached that stage where we recognize a huge challenge in front of us. You think about consumers demanding greater privacy. You think of the tremendous friction that all the privacy regulations create. Obviously, this creates a huge addressable market. But I still think that we're quite early on the maturity curve, and by extension, on the uptake cycle. I'll give one example. There was a 451 research survey that came out maybe a few months ago, and they noted that 81% of consumers are concerned about privacy. So obviously a huge recognition and huge uptake there. But less than 10% of organizations today have dedicated privacy teams. They're still often managing it through either IT teams or perhaps security teams. And so, there's a tremendous opportunity for, growing this market, which today is quite greenfield, right? So these entrants that are today getting the financing and the investment from parties like you see with me on the panel, they don't have to go in and displace incumbents, but rather they're displacing IT teams in the back office with Excel spreadsheets. Oftentimes when I talk to vendors and I ask, who do you see in competitive bake-offs? Maybe they name one under the other vendor, but oftentimes they say, look, I'm going in there and I'm trying to convince them that by spending, X thousand a year with me, it's more efficient than just having the team that currently does it today on Excel and by hand. And that really shows that there's a tremendous need for innovation and I think disruption in the market. So that's why we're seeing all this investment. Clearly, OneTrust, Big ID, those are companies that now have been valued north of $1 billion. Wirewheel, the capabilities that you bring with much more conservative capitalization is quite impressive. So I don't expect that trend to end anytime soon. What's interesting, where I think we're going to see a lot of opportunity on the horizon, is really on the M&A side. So we've seen a lot of investment, but comparatively light M&A, especially in the context of what we're seeing in the security landscape. And so I think we'll see M&A in a couple of different ways going forward within privacy. One is traditional cybersecurity vendors, enterprise cyber companies, and in particular, data security or data management vendors moving into privacy, but then also some of the larger privacy vendors looking to accessorize and build out that platform, as Andrew, Aaron, and Momet also spoke about. So I think we'll see a lot of opportunity there, and ultimately, I think a lot of very successful exits for these early investors.